Thanks everyone for joining. Let's get to work on this dune buggy. I'm just dying to get it done. I have no time and I just want to get it done. So let's get to work. So I just tacked this all together. It sticks out past this top part of the frame because I think I'm just gonna can the top part of the frame too. Just redesign it, make it much stronger, much better looking. So I'm gonna worry about doing the bottom first, getting the motor mounted, and then once the motor, trans, and carrier are mounted, then I'll start building the control arms. This way, when I do redesign this up here, it'll be much easier for me to build mounts for the struts. So I got to continue doing this though, so got no time to talk. So we got the engine plate. This is what I originally made for the old setup, but I kept it and then cut it up. I just took it off the motor because all this is tack welded. The motor's kind of heavy and I don't really want to break it off. I'm just using this strictly for measurements, but I'm also probably going to end up using it. I like the way it sticks out past, or almost as far as, the CVT secondary clutch. And then on this side would be perfect side for a brake, this brake right there. Now, those pillow block bearings are going to be mounted down there. I will support this on this side and as well on the other side so that the two frame rails don't squish together, because that will happen, especially with the power of this thing. And then the way we're going to do it back here is the carrier is also going to sit back here, and then the carrier is going to be able to slide so that we can adjust. I'm going to have a smaller sprocket on this shaft here, and that's going to run the chain to right here where the main sprocket's going to be for the carrier. I'm probably going to rebuild the carrier. I'm going to stick the sprocket straight in the middle, and then so the chain will be straight down the center. Nice part is it's going to be nice and protected inside this box. So the engine, CVT trans, and carrier are all going to be in the center spine of the frame that will tie into the new half of the cage that I'm going to build up here. And then we'll have a control arm coming down here to one wheel with a CV axle going to the carrier. And then same on this side, control arm coming down with a CV axle going to the carrier. So all this is going to move like this, and on this side as well, and all this is going to stay stationary. I was going to keep this originally, this whole back half on the top, but I don't know where I'm going to mount the radiator. And the gas tank obviously is fine where it is, but I mean, I really need a radiator there to get as much flow through here. And also I don't have any room inside there because that tank takes it all up. So I think I'm going to come out and then come down like that, or come up straight and then go up at an angle. And instead of attaching straight to the center, I think I'm going to come off of these corners, which would add even more structural rigidity. Come back to a central point here that's going to line up with this spine that I built throughout the entire frame. And now this new extension is also part of that spine, so it'll be stupid strong. And nice part too is I'm going to redesign the upper ball joints because everyone tells me they're crap. They work fine, but let me show you those. So this is what we got going for an upper control arm ball joint. This is the inner tie rod from a Honda Odyssey minivan, and then I cut it. But as you can see, I didn't do it. This was all I could think of at the time. And as you can tell, it's already maxed out. Now, that's the only thing limiting this suspension. So I want this to sit significantly higher than it used to, because that's another thing. People are like, you have no ground clearance. And riding this in the woods, I definitely ran into issues with stumps, scraping the bottom skid plate, and all kinds of stuff every single time I rode. So what we're gonna do here is, I think I'm gonna get rid of this setup, okay? And I think I'm just gonna put a Heim joint in here. I have two really heavy duty Heim joints from my Jeep that I never used. I did away with that old setup, but I still have some old Heim joints. So put a Heim joint here, that'll allow me to get much more flex out of the suspension, considering, or much more travel, considering this back half is going to have a tremendous amount of travel. I'm probably thinking like maybe 1.5 feet. I know that sounds crazy, but I really truly think I'll be able to get that easily. So now I'm going to have to do the same for the front. I like the height that it's sitting at now. We're sitting at about 1.5 feet off the deck. I really would love for it to be sitting like that once it's on its own wheels, on all 4 wheels, both front and rear. But the more I talk, the more time I waste to work on this. So let's get going here. Now that I have it mocked up, I have a pretty good idea on where I'm standing in terms of alignment issues. Doesn't seem like I have any. That's the beauty of that's why I redesigned this part here. Because now all this is on the outside of the frame, not inside. I have the room now that I got rid of that old setup. So the cool part too is when it comes to tensioning this belt, which I don't really know how tight this is supposed to be. I'd imagine if it's too loose, it's going to take this to engage much further in order for it to grab the belt. So that's not really a big deal. I can just add shims and washers down here, which is great. So the way to adjust the belt is raise the motor, and then in terms of the carrier, which is going to sit here, that's going to be on a slide, so that if chain's too loose, I can slide the carrier back, which would tighten the chain. It's a lot more of a simple setup. I don't know why I didn't do this to begin with, but I'm really pumped. I can't wait to kind of move forward with it. It's gonna have a nice disc brake. It'll be all protected. There's a lot more room now for the exhaust. See how much more room I got up in here? Because the dual exhaust that comes with it is, 2 big obnoxious fat pipes. And they have really big swooping bends. So that's why I had to pull the motor back. That's why ultimately I extended the whole frame, because it just wasn't cutting it the way I had it. So that was set up for a little 250 Polaris Trailblazer motor, not a 97 horsepower snowmobile motor. So got to make do with what I got. Thanks for checking out the build and where we're at so far. And we will see you next time.